Is there more than one way to extend a brokerage agreement? Can I extend it unilaterally? What happens if I'm under contract, but the closing is scheduled for after the end of my listing agreement? Hi, everybody. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors and the director of the Real Estate Academy of America, here to answer those questions for you with respect to the Georgia Association of Realtors, or GAR, or GAR contract package. So a question that came up is, may an agent / broker extend a brokerage agreement, either a seller brokerage agreement or a buyer brokerage agreement, unilaterally? And what happened? Do you need an amendment, or do you need an amendment to extend that? The other question is, just like I said, what happens if you're under contract, but the closing is scheduled after the expiration of your brokerage agreement? Well, I'm here to answer those questions for you. So, hi, everybody. I'm going to share my screen, and we are going to look at the seller brokerage agreement, but it is also in the buyer brokerage agreement in, again, the GAR, Georgia Association of Realtors contract package. So let me share my screen, and I will go over this quickly with you. So this is the exclusive seller brokerage agreement in the GAR contract package, and under paragraph B2, it talks about the listing period. And here's the answer to the second question, is in paragraph B. Initial listing period when property is under contract to sell. If the property is under contract to sell, as that term is defined below, during the listing period, but the listing period expires before the closing, then the listing period is automatically extended through the closing of the contract, where the buyer and seller are under contract. So yes, even if your time frame that you negotiated here, the end period of the, sorry, it's up here. When is the ending date of this agreement? If your closing is after that date, the brokerage agreement and all the terms thereunder still stay intact through closing. Now, let's get to the second question. How do you extend a seller brokerage agreement or a buyer brokerage agreement? Again, the information is the same in the buyer brokerage agreement. So let's look again, paragraph B2, and the extension information is under paragraph C. So you already know that you could extend a buyer brokerage agreement or a seller brokerage agreement via an amendment. If your public client and you agree on an extension, you simply extend it via amendment. But there is a provision for a unilateral extension by the broker. However, there are very specific circumstances and a process, timeframes that you must follow. And it's not an extension for whatever time frame you choose. That is specified as well. So let's look at this paragraph. It states, if during the term of this agreement, the seller and a prospective buyer enter into a real property purchase and sale agreement, and then it goes on, an exchange, option, so forth and so on. But basically, they're under contract. If the seller or buyer go under contract during the term of this agreement, and that is defined in the GAR package as contract to sell, and that contract is not consummated or it does not close for any reason, then the listing period, and in the buyer brokerage it says buyer brokerage period, may be extended unilaterally by the broker. So the broker can extend it unilaterally if you're under contract and that contract terminates for whatever reason. But You can only extend it for the number of days the property was under contract. And you can't do it at any time. The broker has to give written notice that you're extending the brokerage agreement. You have to give notice to your public person, to your public client, within 5 days of the termination of that contract. So you're under contract, let's say a buyer terminates 5 days after the binding agreement date under due diligence. So in that situation, you can extend your listing period for an additional 5 days. Only 5 days, not longer, not any date you choose, but you have to provide the seller notice of that within 5 days of the buyer's termination. If written notice is not given in that time frame, then broker agent, you lose the right to automatically or unilaterally extend the contract. So let me show you the notice form that you would use to send notice to your client that you are extending it. And this is in the GAR contract package. It is GAR F-168, Notice to Extend Brokerage Agreement. And you fill in the date that you're giving the notice. You fill in whether it's a buyer brokerage agreement or a seller brokerage agreement and the date of the original expiration date of your brokerage agreement. You fill in your name and the client's name, and then you simply write, in accordance with the agreement, broker hereby gives notice that the agreement is extended through, and you put in the new extension date. So again, let's say your listing, and then it's signed by the broker. Because it is unilateral, it's a notice, it's unilateral, you do not need the seller's signature. So let's say, for example, your contract, your listing agreement is set to expire on October 31st. You listed it in July and you're set to expire October 31st. Well, in August, you went under contract with a buyer. You were under contract for 5 days, and then the buyer terminated. Let's say the buyer terminated on August 9th. You would have 5 days from August 9th. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You would have until August 14th to send your seller this notice of extension. And the extension date, the seller brokerage agreement would be extended from October 31st for the 5 days that you were off the market and you did not have the opportunity to market the property to another buyer. So instead of it expiring October 31st, it now expires November 5th. So that's how the extension works. If it is not by amendment, which again, you can use an amendment and extend it for any time frame that you and your client agree to. But for a unilateral extension, those are the instructions, how to do it, when to do it, and for how long it can be done. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment below if there are any other topics you would like for me to do a video on, and I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe so you don't miss any contract tips. Thank you so much for watching. Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education. Bye. If you like that video, check out the one here. If you like the content on this entire channel, please click here to subscribe. I try to take even the most complicated of real estate situations and make them crystal clear. See what I did there? Real estate made crystal clear. Thank you guys so much for watching.